The first bankruptcy hearing for collapsed cryptocurrency exchange company FTX was held yesterday. It revealed information on the firm's finances and losses in the billions of dollars.
Lawyers for the firm say a substantial amount of assets were either stolen or are missing from accounts. They also disclosed cyber attacks on the company. Joining us now in studio to talk more about this is Alexander Saeedy. He is a reporter with the Wall Street Journal. Alexander, welcome. This is quite the story, as we were saying off camera a moment ago. The first thing I'm wondering about is what the picture actually looks like. So lawyers representing FTX say that Sam Bankman-Fried's poor management style has left them with little information on the finances. So what more do we actually know about what surfaced at the first hearing? What else do we know about the former CEO's management style?
So we learned a lot yesterday about what was described as a chaotic environment that has characterized FTX mostly since the firm collapsed this month. There proved to be very little record keeping, no signs of corporate governance, even though FTX managed about $16 billion worth of assets on behalf of millions of customers. And it was described as a personal fiefdom, to use the words of the lawyer of Sam Bankman-Fried, who founded the company along with a few other folks. What we know is that a lot of money and assets appear to be stolen or missing. That was the words of the company's counsel yesterday. They have hired former investigators from the SEC and CFTC, which oversees brokerages, to try and track down where that money may have gone. With cryptocurrency and FTX, a lot of this has been done offshore, and money has moved to jurisdictions where it may be difficult to track down those funds. But they said they think they're confident that they are going to be able to find some money, but in their own words, a substantial amount of it has been stolen or is missing. So it's going to be a while to find out where that money went.
So then the question, of course, is will those billions of dollars ever be returned to investors and major firms who invested in FTX or with FTX?
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. So what we know now is that the United States entities have located about $1.2 billion in cash. They say they're confident that they'll find more. However, we know that the top 50 creditors alone, there are millions of creditors, but just the top 50, the largest 50, themselves are claiming $3 billion in assets they're owed. So think about the 950,000 other customers who have claims too. How are they going to be made whole? Running parallel to this, there's actually an insolvency process happening in the Bahamas, which is where FTX had several legal entities domiciled. The Bahamas thinks they actually are the proper jurisdiction to be running the insolvency of FTX. And we know from court papers and regulatory documents, they've in fact directed Sam Bankman-Fried to centralize funds into a government-controlled wallet in the Bahamas. That may be outside of the reach of a U.S. court and U.S. creditors potentially. So we have also an issue of two jurisdictions fighting over who's really responsible to manage the collapse of this company.
So you mentioned creditors. One key issue at the hearing was if FTX would have to publicly disclose information about its creditors, which could include thousands of ordinary people who use the service. So do lawyers actually have an argument for not releasing the information?
Yeah, the FTX asked a judge to approve a motion to keep their information confidential, saying it's, not right to have their names put out in the public domain without their full consent. And additionally, there's been reports of cyber attacks happening in many cryptocurrency customers' wallets. Potentially releasing personal information about them could leave them open to cyber attacks of some kind. However, the United States trustee, which is a branch of the Department of Justice, asked in court yesterday that any corporate customer that has hundreds of millions of dollars of deposits at FTX, because those are also customers there, not just individuals, that their names be disseminated and made widely public in the interest of greater transparency and the fact that they're not individuals, but corporations. So. Yeah.
So let's talk about the other sort of news that was bubbling around this. The director of enforcement at the Texas State Securities Board says the agency is investigating these payments that were made to celebrities and star athletes who endorse FTX, people like Larry David and others. And I also note that both Bankman-Fried and one of the other members of FTX, one of the other executives, donated a lot to politicians. I don't know if there's a way for those politicians to give those assets back, but what about those celebrities that are being targeted?
Yeah, I think it's going to take some time for courts to establish where the money is, how much is left to make creditors whole. If there's not enough to pay them back in their entirety, are there other avenues of recourse to find money to pay them back? We have seen that politicians who received funds from Mr. Bankman-Fried and also one of his deputies have started to return funds voluntarily, although I'm sure not all have done that. It's going to take some time on the private side to figure out how celebrities and others, may walk back their connections to FTX. But for example,
but let me just ask Alex before you. There's a clarification, right? I should make that Larry David did a commercial for them. Some of these others that we put up on the graphic are individuals, celebrities who actually endorsed FTX.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And for example, the stadium in Miami where the Miami Heat play, the arena was rebranded to FTX Arena about a few months ago. And Miami-Dade County yesterday in court asked if they could reject that agreement they had with FTX and change the name back. So you're seeing a lot of people really trying to pull back any association they had with the company. So I think that's going to play out over the next few weeks.
All right, Alexander Saeedy, thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate great reporting.